Hey everybody, I'm Alex and welcome back to my midlife crisis. Today I want to finish up the industrial area. I started out with some terracotta paint. The area where I live is the red clay, and as you could see in there, it was a little bit too red, so I mixed some black in with it and I got this nice chocolate brown color, but that's a little bit too dark. So I mixed some more red in and played around with it a little bit and came up with something that I thought looked a little bit more clay earth tones. One of the things that I really liked about painting on the cork is that it took the paint very well, a lot better than I thought it would. And any areas where you don't have full coverage, what shows through is actually the cork. And that's an earth tone, and the surface of the cork gives you a nice texture. So I slapped some paint around here, looked at everything, and kind of still looked at it at the end of the day and thought, nah, this is not really what I want. So when I came back the next day, I wasn't really sure about the color, so I decided to go ahead and ballast some of the tracks while I was trying to figure out if I wanted to keep that color or change it. For ballasting, I like to use a soft bristled brush to work the ballast down in between the ties and into any nooks and crannies. I find a brush that's fairly soft, that's just slightly wider than the gauge of the tracks, works really well. And then for anything that's not in between the tracks, I will go ahead and just use my finger to spread everything out. I feel like a lot of people don't use their fingers enough. I don't know, it could be. Let me know in the comments below. Do you use your fingers more, or do you only use tools? I don't know, I always feel like I have a little bit more control with my finger than I do with a brush, although the brush, is obviously you need it for some things. Once I have the profile that I like, I go ahead and do one last sweep with the soft bristled brush on the inside of the rails and spritz everything with a 50-50 mix of IPA. This is a fine mist sprayer that I bought off of eBay. And then just mix up some white glue and some water, about half and half. I don't really pay attention to it. A lot of people say you should put dishwashing detergent in there. I've never had to. I've never felt like it made a difference. I've done it a couple of times and it just seemed to be more trouble than it was worth. As you can see, the glue is wicking in very easily. I'm not doing anything really, out of the ordinary with it. Now here I'm taking a hard bristled brush. This is actually a brush that I dipped in glue and let the glue harden. And after I've finished spreading the glue or drizzling the glue in, I'll take this hard bristled brush and I run it along the inside of each rail, and that collects any little bits of ballast that are stuck in there. And once that's done, I'll come back over with my finger and just wipe any excess glue off of the top of the rails. When everything is done, I think that makes cleanup a little bit easier. When I was placing the buildings, I discovered that I hadn't really filled in the area where the buildings go well. So I went ahead and mixed up some dark gray paint. Basically, it's just that gray paint with a couple of drops of black, and I went around and filled in where I could find little holes. For my parking lot technique, I basically just painted a section, added black, painted a section, added black, painted a section, added black, so it looks like it was all done in different areas. And then you can see there that I've got like little patches. In the end, I decided that the brown was still too dark, so I decided to mix up another batch, something a little bit lighter. And you can see there, it's pretty straightforward. I've never mixed paint before this, so, well, yesterday I did. But mixing it up was really easy. You just spread it around there. I decided while I was painting it that I did like this a little bit better. There were areas where you try to be really precise along the edge of what's supposed to be concrete, but in other areas it doesn't really matter. And you can see there's some really stark difference between the old paint and the new paint. In some instances I felt like it was a little bit too stark, so it was a little bit too light versus too dark, and in order to mix it, I added another drop of the black paint, mixed that up, and got a little bit of water on the brush, and then just used it to blend between the lighter paint and the darker paint. And you know, it doesn't matter if it's not all uniform color. In fact, it's the ground. You don't want it to be a uniform color. Here I tried using a straight edge. It kind of worked. And when I set this down, I looked at it and I realized, hey, it would be kind of cool if there was a concrete pad. And I looked and I was like, well, I could cut styrene and I could glue this and I could do that. And I thought, you know what? I could just paint some concrete pads here with a lighter gray. And the cool thing about this is, as I've said before, if you don't like the way it turned out, you just paint over it. It's pretty simple. I am a huge proponent of using paint to do details. So I, added a few details there. I made that little dirt road out of gray ballast and then dry brushed some dark and light areas to show oil and dirt tracks and wheel tracks. I'm really happy about how this all came out. I feel like it's a very good base, and I'm at the point now where I can look at this. It looks like a little industrial area. I'm gonna move on to the next scenic area unless I have an idea for a detail that I want put here or there. I may come back. I probably will come back and do a couple of other things in here, but for right now, I'm happy with it. Thanks for watching. As usual, I hope you've either learned how to do something or how not to do something. Either one is a benefit. As you can see, I'm getting ready to start on Main Street. That'll be the next thing that I'm doing over here, unless I decide to work on the mountain or the river or the expansion, which I'm thinking about doing, even though I haven't, finished this part yet. Like, subscribe, leave me a comment, and if you can think of anything clever to say for an outro, I would love to know what it is.